The stairs here are in pretty decent shape. Obviously they'll need to be refinished. There's a little list to the starboard side here, but I may be able to straighten that out a little bit when I put in new stairs for the basement and adjust that wall. So originally, at the top of the stairs, there's a hallway here, and that's the primary bedroom there. There was a bedroom here, and again, this is the original opening based on the width of the stud. This is an original opening as well. Also, I can tell by the woodwork. And then over here, that's the stairs to the attic. So, in addition to what was sort of like an entry room, because this is where the stairs from the kitchen area came up, and so under the attic stairs. And the original woodwork on this wall, there was no door. So there was a, this was all trimmed out in this area here, and based on the baseboard, you just came up to this room and into this room. I uncovered this opening here, which was originally a window. So, and you can see there's no clapboard on the outside. Somebody just put up a piece of plywood, but I will put a window in there. Because this area here is going to be a laundry room, and I may have two individual baths, or I may do one large bath and one bathroom that is a combination laundry room and bathroom. This is the other section that is in most need of work. As I say, when the plumbers came in to put in the plumbing, the floor here was kind of hacked up a little bit. You can see that where the cast iron, that's the original toilet, there's a vent pipe, and then there's the cast iron that goes to the outside. And then that would have been the original vent that would have gone up through the soffit and vented to the atmosphere. But you can see that the wood here is much, much wider, and it's also tongue and groove. So they cut the floor in this space and then replaced the boards with wider boards. So now this business over here has nothing to do with the plumbers putting in the plumbing decades ago. At some point in time, the porch that's down below, a second story was added to the porch. And when that was done, they took out the original back wall of the house. And so you can see down here, you can see where the top plate down there of the kitchen back wall, and what remains of the studs, and all the way across. It could have been done well, but it wasn't. It was probably done by a non-professional, and so this particular stud here is a large timber. It's 4x6, and it's mid-span for the plates. It's unfortunate that they cut this, and then when they put in a beam to support the roof load, they did a piss-poor job, because all we have here is a single original stud with a 2x4 block on it, and then it supports. It's difficult to see, but it supports two 2x4s that are there. You see my string line, and that's in front of or below one of the 2x4s on the right, the 2x4 on the left. Those two modern 2x4s are what is spanning this 16-foot opening. And as I say, this one is resting on a top double plate. On the other side, there are three 2x4s, and they don't rest on anything except the plate that doesn't have anything underneath it, as you can see right there. So the 2x4s acting as the post for the ends of the two 2x4s that are holding up the roof is actually cantilevered to a few inches. So very, very poor construction, and the result is that the span here that is clear as a result of removing the wall drops about 1.5 inches from the ends to the middle. So that has to be taken care of. I can probably start the process because you don't want to jack 1.5 inches all at once. You want to do it a little bit at a time. And so I do have some time in which to do that. So that's the other big, other than the the kitchen holes and walls, this is the other big one. If you go outside and you compare the line of the eave at this span with the straight edge of the gutter, you can also see that there's a slight sag. The other thing that tells me that this is later is the framing of this. So, and this room here might have been done twice. So here are the old original clapboards, and you can see that you can see the metal right there. So that would be where the original first floor porch roof tied into the sidewall of the house. And that's there's the metal is right there. So obviously when the wall was removed and the proper improper beam was put in place, they obviously cut through the clapboards and then they framed this out. Now at some point in time, you can see that the sheathing on this is diagonal, so there are no clapboards as far as I can tell. And then there must have been windows here. Let me back up a little bit. So there must have been windows here originally when they did this room, which would make sense. And then, or screens, and they might have had this as a sleeping porch, but if they did, why didn't they leave the wall in place? And then the same is true on the other side, where we have the diagonal sheathing, and then we have framing for what was an opening, again a window or a screen, and then subsequently it got boarded up and then shingles were put on. So this space went through a couple of iterations. These windows are awning style, and that would not have been the case if this was original. And this room was paneled, and over each one of these windows was a 2-foot fluorescent light. So I tore all of that down, again took out all the wiring. Since this porch is going to go away, this second floor porch addition is going to be demolished and the roof will be restored, then I'm not going to do any further demolition here. I'm not yet sure if I want to save the awning that's outside or the windows, but that'll be determined later. So the other dead giveaway that this second floor porch room was an addition is the fact that here is the original soffit and fascia. And you can even see the shadow where the vent, the original vent stack, which was exterior to the building, you can see where it went up and went through or went by underneath the soffit and then went through the porch roof when it was put on. Because what it would have done originally was come up, made a right turn at the soffit and then made a right turn to the vertical to go up. So obviously when the addition of the porch roof was put on, they had to account for that, hence the circular hole in the roof of the porch. And this is a very low pitch porch roof. So it's no wonder that they had a leak here, and that caused damage in the kitchen, which is down below here. So a lot of holes in the floor, and I don't think I showed it to you, but this space here was a bathroom, and it had a 60-inch by 30-inch shower, walk-in shower. It had a toilet. There was a wall here where the vent pipe is. That has been removed. The original floor is all painted. It's very dusty now, but this was all one room. There was a ceiling fixture in the middle of the room. So this, I'm pretty sure, was a bedroom, because this little space here was a closet that went behind the wall to the chimney. So that is green, and then there was a wall here between the two door openings, and you can see on the right side, you can see no paint on the subfloor where the wall was, and here on the right side, hard to tell, but this is sort of a gold color floor. Now it's the rest of the place has beautiful floors that'll finish up very nice and look lovely when everything is done. But because this may have been a servant's area or some other utilitarian function, there may not have been a finished floor here, which would have made sense why these floors are painted and not finished like the other areas. So again, I'm not sure yet if I'm going to make this a bathroom, another bathroom, and then a separate laundry, or if I'm going to have a larger bathroom and then a second bathroom combination with the laundry. But again, I don't want to have any plumbing on the exterior walls, so I have to figure all of that out. But lots of holes in the floor here. Some of them are due to plumbing. This one is due to plumbing. That one's due to plumbing. That one, I'm not sure what it's due to. And over here, I think this was an accident. On top of the subfloor here was, as you can see it there, particle board underlayment in with ring shank nails. It's impossible to get out without a great deal of work, and everything breaks up. So I think what they did, there are some scars on the floor here. We can see somebody cut with a saw, and I think perhaps in this space here, they just forgot to adjust the blade, and they just went and cut anyway. Fortunately, they didn't cut through the joists. However, in one location, right under here, you can see this joist has been cut. So this part of the floor here is much lower than the other joists. In fact, all of the joists in this section are very measurably lower. When you come off of the stairs here, you can feel right away that I'm transitioning from the load-bearing wall at the front of the hallway here, the top stair, and right away when you take a step, you can feel that it pitches down. So the kitchen ceiling joists, or the floor joists here of the second floor right here in this area, they all need to be beefed up. And in fact, I may put a beam in and then do a coffered ceiling in the kitchen. Moving over here to the primary bedroom. It's a good sized bedroom, 3 windows. It has a little closet here, and these are 8-foot ceilings on the second floor, approximately. You can see where the would have had a wood stove here in the bedroom. Today is December the 10th, 2022, and it's about 40 some odd degrees, both inside and outside of the house. Here you can see where there was a leak at the chimney. None of that wood appears to be in terrible shape. But this blocking here, while it appears to be original, this blocking here will all get reinforced in order to reinforce the floor of the attic, which you will see has a 2-foot centers for the attic floor joists, which shouldn't be considered floor joists. What they are is rafter ties. This is a 12-12 pitch roof, and I'll get up into the attic and explain a little bit more about that in another part. But the floors are really nice here. They will finish up beautifully. I have all the original windows in this room, and speaking of the windows, the sash weights will go away so that the sash pocket can be fully insulated. The sashes will be removed, they'll be restored, and when they're reinstalled, the top sash will be made fixed, and the lower sash will be movable, and it can be held in place with little spring clips that are readily available. And that way I don't have to worry about a counterweight. The sashes are not very heavy, but I can get rid of the sash weights in order to insulate fully the sash pocket. And again, the original clapboards, no insulation. The insulation will again be such that I leave an air space. I'm not going to remove the clapboards. There's not going to be any house wrap applied from the exterior, and there won't be any sheathing. The clapboards will stay. They'll be finished on the outside. On the inside, all the cavities will be back primed, and then a spacer will be installed on the sides against the clapboard, and then rigid foam insulation, perhaps up to 3 inches, will be installed. And if necessary, the studs will be padded out so that the drywall and the casings can be made to look correct. So that's the primary bedroom. When the house was originally built, there were 2 rooms here at the front. This would be the second largest bedroom, and again it has the closet with the finished floor and a couple of windows. This room had been updated in the sense that all of the plaster had been demoed, and then the walls were sheetrocked and the ceiling was sheetrocked. And I decided to leave the ceiling sheetrock in place because I can get to the joist bays from the attic without too much fuss. And I'll probably use a blown-in cellulose, maybe a foot thick, up there. So that'll stay. I didn't want to take that down because I would be rained upon by all the cellulose blown-in insulation. So I actually removed it from above. What you can also see here is the porch. So there's the front wraparound porch. Obviously there's a hollow space above the porch ceiling, and you can see all of that through here. I just finished cleaning out most of that. Got to do a little more. There's an awful lot of dust when you do this sort of thing. It's really incredible. In addition to this bedroom, there was this little tiny room here. It had an original door with the casing on the inside, and this room is very small. It's probably only about 7 feet by 6 feet, but I wasn't sure what its purpose was, but it had 2 windows, original with their casing, and it had the door with its casing. This room was paneled. The paneling was on top of the original plaster and lath, which I demoed. And I was thinking that maybe there was an opening in this wall here, so you could get from the tiny room to the bedroom, but that was not the case. There's no opening here. However, this is right above the wall that has the opening from the entry into the living room, and so perhaps this needed to be load-bearing also, which is why they decided to put up a wall here and just make 2 rooms. But you can see into the attic up there. Again, first, second floor, wall spacing, studs, 16 on centers. The floor joist on the first floor, the floor joist for the second floor are 16-inch centers, but the joists for the second floor ceiling slash base or attic floor are 24-inch centers. So that tells me that the attic was never meant to be a living space. As you go from the first floor to the second floor to the attic floor, the height of the joists decreases. So the ones in the basement are about 8.5 inches tall, and here they're 6.5 inches tall. So it gives me an inch bigger than a modern 2x6, but not as thick as a modern 2x8. So any sister joists that I need to make, all have to be ripped to the appropriate size. But it's still a typical construction. We have a double top plate, and they did a pretty good job, again, lining up the studs from the first floor and the second floor. You can see the lower studs there. And so I'm not worried about the house. The house is pretty square, except for a couple of places where the floors got damaged due to improper plumbing work. So I think what I will do is I will make an opening here in this wall, so you can get from the larger bedroom to this tiny room. Make this like a sitting area or a little office with a desk, and then this will all be headed up properly in order to maintain the strength of the load-bearing element of this little wall. The door here, I'm going to close that up. No need for it, and it'll be a nice little dead end of the hall where we put a piece of furniture, grandfather clock or something like that. So here's something that's kind of interesting. If you remember that the chimney in the living room was at an angle to the walls, 45 degrees. So, but in order to go out the roof, they didn't want to go out the roof at 45 degrees. They wanted to go out the roof square to the rafters and the ridge. So what they've done here is they have twisted the chimney. And this is a technique that some people might call corbelling, which is where you do a lot of fancy brickwork. So as you can see, there's your 45 to the house, and then as it goes up, then it becomes 90 degrees to the house, and continues that way up through the attic floor. So that's an interesting. And I'm going to keep this stud bay open. I'm going to put a piece of plexiglass and trim around it. But in here I'll also install some of the old knob and tube, although it won't be energized. But just to remind passers-by that, you know, this is back in the day. This is what they did. They knew what they were doing. And just to show you what it was like 132 years ago.